everybody to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 135. I'm your handsome host, Gene Walzak, the NFL genius. In my upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, the man running the ones and the twos, college, Gettrell Simpson.
What's going on?
Proud homeowner.
Homeowner.
Yeah. In the upper right corner, I got Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, the man of many nicknames. He's a lot of nicknames, but one of them is never on time. What's happening, Shally?
Got a new background too.
Yeah, a little redecorating. Good job. Every week you got a new haircut on the show, I noticed.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
We got a ton to get into tonight. NBA playoffs, UFC recap. I don't even know why we're talking about a Kentucky Derby recap. Absolute joke. Do not need to be talking about horses. But we also have our Mount Rushmore list of sporting events that we would like to watch, like to go to, like to attend live. I can't wait to get into that list. That's going to be electric. But we got to start with the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs are wild right now. I think I could get all four series wrong. It's quite possible after going 7 for 8 in round one, or 6 for 8 in round one, I can go 0 for 4 in round two. I love that, though. I love that I can go 0 for 4 in round two. That means it's unpredictable. I predicted the Suns, the Warriors, the Celtics, and the Knicks.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I'm right there with you. I mean, I did pick the Heat, but the other three, I picked Golden State, I picked the Suns, and I picked the Celtics. And it's not like these teams have necessarily been playing bad. I know we'll kind of go into all of them, but unpredictable is the perfect word for it.
It's fun, though. It's a lot of fun. I will say this. So out of the 8 teams in the Elite 8 of the NBA basketball world, what team would you say is the biggest disappointment?
For me, I would have to say it's the Boston Celtics. And that's the reason being is that you guys live in Philly. You know, we've talked about it on the show before about how we thought this series would go. Not only is it not going that way, but they're not looking good while doing it. Like, I know Jason Tatum he's put up the points. Jaylen Brown's put up the points, but the sets they've been running offensively and defensively, it seems like they're just trying to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Throwing Marcus Smart on Joel Embiid, I don't know how that's a recipe for success. If I'm playing against that 76ers team, I would throw my best defender, which would be Marcus Smart. I would throw him on Maxey or throw him on James Harden. Like, you can't let those guards dictate the flow of the game. Joel Embiid's an MVP. He's going to get his regardless. I understand you want to try and slow him down. Throw Robert Williams on him. I know it's not the best matchup in the world, but throw Robert Williams on him and kind of just live with it. You know, you double off of whoever's guarding PJ Tucker, you double off of him. And if PJ scores 15, 18 points because he hits a wide open corner three, then so be it. You got to live with the result. But I don't like the way Boston looks, and I don't like the way that they've responded, you know, especially seeing them at home in that game 5 scenario where they just essentially rolled over.
So the only underdog that is the highest seed they're playing is the biggest disappointment. Like, that's a little wild.
What do you mean?
I get what you're saying, but no, it's 2 versus 3. Like, you got a 5 versus an 8. The 5's getting beat 3-1. The defending champions getting beat by 7-3-1, and your answer is the 3 seed.
But you got to understand too, Joel Embiid, we knew coming in this series wasn't healthy. Joel Embiid didn't play game 1 and they lost. Like, there's more stuff that goes into it than just surface level seeding. Like, I mean, the Warriors are the 6th seed right now. I understand they're the defending champions, but they are the 6th seed right now. I didn't see that series going that way. And then the 8-5 matchup, the Heat have that playoff experience, and I expected the Heat to win this series. So the Celtics, not only are they losing this series, in a way, they're getting dominated. I understand they've won 2 games, but it hasn't looked pretty watching, you know, these games.
Shally, what's your talk? What's your thought process? What series, like what team has been the biggest disappointment in round 2?
For me, it's been Golden State so far.
Okay.
I give the Lakers credit. I think they're playing well. I think they're playing solid basketball for the most part. I think Golden State just squandered so many chances, which we're not used to seeing out of that roster, especially with Steph and Clay and Draymond and all those guys that have just been there so many times. The other night again they had an 8 or 9 point lead with 6 minutes to go and ended up losing that game. They're not closing well. So for me, not only a championship caliber team, a team that's won championships together with a lot of that roster still intact, for them to be blowing leads down the stretch to a Lakers team that, I think we all, I think we would all agree to some degree have overachieved at this point. And that's a testament to LeBron and AD and even a little bit of Russell and a couple the role players that have stepped up big time. But I don't think there's any reason they should be up 3-1 in that series. So if I had to pick one, I would pick Golden State.
And we'll get into that series because I got to give the Lakers credit more than I have to and I'll talk about where Golden State's really missing the boat. And a lot of it has to do with your Michigan guy who's been an absolute ghost. Jordan Poole has been an absolute pathetic excuse for an NBA basketball player in this series, but I'll get into that in a minute. The biggest disappointment to me is the one underdog that's actually losing. That's the Phoenix Suns. You make the trade for Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. It falls directly on DeAndre Ayton. It falls directly. DeAndre Ayton, they did a whole segment. Legler and JJ Redick did a whole segment breaking down him not beating Jokic down the court. As slow as Jokic is. Jokic plays at his own pace, and I get it. Like they say it's methodical, which is another way to slow. Jay Will said that, right?
Yep.
DeAndre Ayton shows zero emotion. He's getting abused in the series. He's not hustling. It is embarrassing. And to see the performances that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are putting out, and the fact that they're going to lose that series is just it's criminal. And I think the Suns made a mistake by matching the offer for DeAndre Ayton this offseason. They could have put that money into something else. But I would say the Suns are my biggest disappointment. I expected them to win the NBA Finals when they made that trade for KD. You had KD to that Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul. Listen, big as a Chris Paul fan I am. I'm a huge Chris Paul fan. But, man, it's time to hang him up. It's time to hang him up. Every postseason, he's injured. It drives me nuts. I just can't take it. It's every postseason the guy's out for an injury. It's always soft tissue, hamstring, groin, and it sucks because you can't control it, but it's very obvious. Now, I want to start with that Lakers Golden State series because I do have a few comments on it, right? Like I want to start there and then we'll work our way around. The Lakers are playing much better basketball since the trade deadline. They dumped Russell Westbrook, and they added a lot of really good role players and pieces. Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, you got D'Angelo Russell. They've done a great job of adding good role players around LeBron and AD. And look, as much crap as people give Anthony Davis, let's call spade a spade. Anthony Davis has been the best defensive player in this playoffs by far. It's not even close. He is dominating the paint. And Darvin Ham, got to give him all the credit in the world. The guy has coached excellent. He's made the Warriors make adjustments twice, and he's up 3-1 on the Warriors. The biggest adjustment they need to make after game one is they walked into that series with the smart game plan of if Kevon Looney and Draymond Green are on the court at the same time, we're not sticking them. We're putting 4 people on the outside, and we're putting AD to play free safety in the middle of the defense, and has absolutely destroyed them in the paint. The second huge thing that they've done is they've ran everybody that they can at Klay Thompson to make sure Steph Curry is the only guy that can beat you in this series. They are making somebody else beat you in this series other than Klay Thompson. Steph Curry is doing what he needs to do. Triple-double, 25 points. But when it's all said and done, the role players on Golden State have not played well, and I credit that to the defense of the Los Angeles Lakers. If they played well in round one and they're not playing well in round two, there's only one constant, and that's the defense of the Los Angeles Lakers. Vanderbilt plays great defense, and then for them to get their performance by Lonnie Walker the fourth last game, 15 points in the fourth quarter, you got to give credit to the coaching staff. What that kid sat through by being a DNP in one game, by being when they're up 30, he got a little bit of run in the blowout game in game 3. Game 3. He got the run in game 3.
He got the blowout run in game 2. That was when the Warriors were up 30. That's when Lonnie Walker played.
Warriors won that.
But Lonnie Walker the fourth coming in and giving them the spark they needed, 15 points in the fourth quarter. It says everything you need to know. Talk about someone staying ready. Like I attribute that to Eddie House. Not Eddie House, Jesus. But I attribute that to Darvin Ham and the Lakers coaching staff and what they've done. Daniel House is what I meant for the 76ers. But it's the same thing. You don't play the whole series and you come in and give great minutes. That's on coaching staff. That's on the team leadership. The Lakers have outplayed the Golden State Warriors in this series. This to me is not. And I'll say one last thing, and I'll pass it right to you, Cottrell, and then Bill. The Warriors are not as cohesive as they've been in the last few years. You can see the animosity on the team. I've never, ever in my life seen Steve Kerr, Draymond Green throw their hands up at Klay Thompson shooting a shot. They threw their hands up at him. That Jordan Poole ignored Draymond Green. Steph Curry yelled at him on the bench and then dapped up Draymond Green. There's not cohesion in that locker room, and there has been for years. There's never been an ego problem on that Warriors team. But when Jordan Poole got that money, and I'm not saying it's Jordan's fault that he got the money. I'm glad he got the money. But when Jordan Poole got that money, the issue between the team's mental leader and Draymond Green and Jordan Poole has never been more evident than it is right now. Jordan Poole has been terrible. 10 minutes, 0 points in game 4. After that missed shot from game 1, they all said the right thing after game 1. They all said the right thing afterwards. It's fine that Jordan took the shot. We have no issue with Jordan taking the shot. But I don't know if something happened in that locker room, but his confidence was shook, and he has been terrible since. He looks lackadaisical. He's not running hard. He's not getting himself involved in the plays. He looks like he's almost going through the motions. Cottrell, do you see that same thing with Golden? And I can't blame the Lakers for playing good basketball. They've been the number 1 defense since the trade deadline. They've had the best record since the trade deadline. I can't blame the Lakers for playing good basketball. I can't do that.
And I think I definitely agree with your point. And, Jordan Poole has looked like a shell of himself, what we saw out of him during the regular season and kind of just what we've been accustomed to seeing what Jordan Poole looks like off the bench. I do think that Jordan Poole is one of those guys, though. He's a streaky guy. I know you guys talked about Jordan Poole and Tyler Hero and Tyrese Maxey on your other podcast earlier this week. And Jordan Poole is one of those guys that I don't want to call him a streaky guy because he's more than that. He's a consistent, 18, 20 points a game kind of guy. But a guy like that, he definitely rides off of that confidence. If he's getting 25 minutes a game, with him being on that Warriors team, it's like, hey, you got the green light. You got just as much. You really have just as much leash as Steph and Klay. Now, I get it. You don't shoot as well as those guys, but we give you that leash. And if you get a 25-footer and you want to take that, hey, go ahead. So be it. After game 1, you said it perfectly. I definitely think his confidence was shook. And I don't necessarily think it was by people on that Warriors team. I do think internally, Steve Kerr, some of those leaders, Draymond, they probably told him like, hey, we don't want to settle for that shot in this situation. But at the same time, though, I think mentally he's like, okay, like maybe I'm starting to doubt myself a little bit. But I don't want to put it all on Jordan Poole, though. I think the other role players for Golden State as well really have kind of failed to show up. The Lakers, they 100% had the mindset. If you aren't Steph or Clay, we're basically just going to double off of whoever we're guarding and make these guys make open shots. Andrew Wiggins hasn't been the productive player for the Warriors so far. He hasn't been able to consistently hit that open three-pointer. They switched their lineup and got Gary Payton Jr. in the lineup. And I get it, defensively, makes a lot of sense for GP2 to be in there, but he's not a consistent shooter for that team. The best shooter off their bench has been Dante DiVincenzo. I really think that the Warriors need to find ways to get him more minutes. He's been their reliable piece. He's a great defender. He already understands that Warriors offense, and he's only been there for a season. I think he's a perfect piece for this Warriors team. I think that's where they need to look, and that's where they're going to start to have more success.
Two things. One, William Joseph's comment is I left it up there this long because I'm telling you right now, that is what a lot of guys that don't watch basketball didn't understand, how incredible of a mindset LeBron James has and had on that play. LeBron remembered the play that they ran versus them from when he was in Cleveland. They ran the same play to get Klay Thompson to open three in the corner. That's the Draymond turnover that everyone's talking about. Like, what was he doing? He left his feet. That was a designed play, and LeBron sniffed it out mid-play. That is incredible next-level basketball. I needed to point that out. That's why I left that up there.
The other thing, too, with that one specific play is that the Lakers actually run that play themselves. That's a play that Darvin Ham has had in his playbook, and that's something that the Lakers run as well. So LeBron's recognition, obviously, he saw it while he was in Cleveland, but the Lakers, a lot of the players knew as well because they run the exact same set. So definitely give them credit for that. But as far as the Warriors go, I do want to give Steve Kerr credit, and I'm going to take it right back away from him as soon as I give it to him. Pick and roll action, getting AD in the pick and roll has worked to perfection for them. And I really love that. I love that that's been their go-to set. Now, where I want to take away credit for them is in that fourth quarter, you didn't really see them go to that up until it was the last possession of the game. Curry had AD on him with the switch, and he set up for two bad jump shots. You don't want to ever say that's a bad jump shot because Steph Curry's shooting it, but when you got AD on you, you've been blown by AD, whenever he's gotten that switch on you. So for you to take a fadeaway jumper and then take a 30-footer, I understand you're Steph, and if it goes in, we're not having this conversation, but I thought they definitely, missed an opportunity there. And Steve Kerr's got to get – I blame Steve Kerr for a lot of that too. You got to get that pick and roll action going more and more. But to Lakers' credits, they found ways to combat pretty much everything the Warriors have thrown at them. So definitely Darvin Ham is he's been out coaching Steve Kerr so far, and that's kind of crazy to say.
Shally, I'm going to go right to you. Lonnie Walker took over for your GOAT because LeBron couldn't hit a jump shot. I'll tell you something real quick, Kevin. I'll tell you what LeBron can do. He's a coach on the floor. And the way that they are attacking that Warriors defense by getting LeBron James man-on-man with Stephen Curry every single play down the stretch and LeBron making them double and hitting the right person at the right time. You say what you want to say, but he's a coach on the floor. If you didn't watch the end of that game, you could say whatever you want to say about Lonnie Walker making shot, making this, making that. LeBron James got Steph Curry on him on every play and made the Warriors double on every single play and hit the open guy. It's good basketball. Say what you want. It's good basketball. Shally.
No, I mean, I think you guys hit on most of the parts, most of the key points. I think if anything, you guys would be a little bit lenient on Clay and Wiggins and especially Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's been terrible. I am of the mindset. I think he got that money. He had a great, spurt to start the year, especially when Steph got hurt. And I think mentally, I think he thinks he's on the same level as Steph and Clay. And I think that's where the rub is between everybody. I think he's, having a hard time really staying within the boundaries of his role. And he thinks he should play 35 minutes a night and he thinks he should start. And I think that is where behind the scenes, I think that's where a lot of the friction is. I think Steph's been great. I think Draymond's been very good. Wiggins has had spurts where he's been invisible. Klay Thompson shot the ball awful the majority of the series. Um, it's kind of like you guys said. I said at the beginning as well. You have to give the Lakers credit. I mean, they're playing smart basketball, and to some degree, you have to play that when you play the Warriors. And I can't remember. I think it was either LeBron or AD or somebody said, after they won their series and they found they got Golden State, they were like, when you play them, it's chaos, and you have to just do. You have to constantly remember to stay within yourselves and stay within the system, and you give yourself a chance to beat them. If you go running around, chase them around the court for 7 games, they're like, he's going to beat you. And the more I think about it, I think it was AD, but he pretty much said something along those lines, and that's what they're doing right now. I think Golden State. I expect Golden State to win tonight. I think they'll come out. Pretty sharp and pretty fast against LA at home. But and they've struggled away from home all year. I don't know if they go back to LA this weekend and win. I don't. I would tell you in years past, I would tell you, I would be pretty confident this at least goes 7 and Golden State at least brings it back. But I'd be lying if I said it this year. I think LA is a good shot to close that out at home if they don't pull off the upset tonight.
Mooney, are you saying that Steph Curry couldn't guard you one-on-one? Like, I just need to understand that real quick. You don't think he can guard you one-on-one? You think he would need a double team against you? That's laughable.
I will say the other thing too is that the one game that that Klay had this series that he went off was game 2, and that was before the Lakers made the adjustment of getting Troy Brown out of the rotation. He hit 4 of his 8 threes while Troy Brown was the closest defender to him, and Troy Brown did not understand the defensive assignment. He was getting lost in screens, going under when he shouldn't. And so not only is Lonnie Walker, he put out the great performance, in the fourth quarter of the last game, but he's been able to be on Klay when Austin Reeves goes to the bench, and they haven't lost their defensive identity with him on the court. So another credit to Darvin Ham for realizing that.
Look, we'll get into that a little bit more. I have a bold prediction on this series, but I don't want to talk about it right now. I'll give it into it at the end. I want to talk about DeAndre Ayton right now. DeAndre Ayton is a coward. He is on Ben Simmons level. Like, I can't take it. I cannot watch DeAndre Ayton play basketball. He's a quitter. He's a coward. He did it last year in the Dallas Mavericks series. DeAndre Ayton should be you got to be kidding me this week if there wasn't so many good ones. This guy is an absolute fraud of a 7-footer. I am so embarrassed that this man went one overall, and I'm embarrassed that I picked the Suns to go to the NBA Finals with this coward on that team. If I'm Monty Williams, I'll start Bismarck Biyombo. Give me Bismarck Biyombo over this fraud. At least he'll run down the court and try. DeAndre Ayton needs to be sent home. Don't even let him sit on the bench. You don't even deserve to wear the uniform. That guy is an absolute fraud. Say something to defend him. I dare either one of you to, because that guy, I can't take him.
I won't defend him, but I will say with him, he's one of those guys that if he doesn't have it going offensively, he is mentally checked out, and that is not what you need for a guy who is the 3rd or 4th option, depending on how you look at him and Chris Paul when everybody's in the lineup. But I really don't see how DeAndre Ayton is back on the Suns team next season. I know we're talking about the series right now, but we were all surprised that he came back. It seemed like all signs were pointing to him not being back in Phoenix. Yeah. And so it seems like they made amends, during the regular season, and things were peachy. They traded for Kevin Durant. They went on their little win streak, and everything seemed on the up and up. But now you don't have any depth on your bench. I do give credit to Monty. He's finally gone deeper in his bench, and it's paid a little bit more dividends for him. But DeAndre Ayton has not been – he's not the guy to just lock in. One of my high school coaches, he always said, do your job. And at the bare minimum, if DeAndre Ayton's not going to score, you got to at least get boards. You got to at least put a body on Nikola Jokic. Make him work. There's no reason why DeAndre Ayton, the talent that he is, that a guy like Nikola is scoring 53 points. I get it. Nikola is super talented, back-to-back MVPs, and super graceful and super skilled. But you got to make him work for that. That cannot be easy. And if anything, give him some fouls. We don't want you to get in foul trouble, but try to send a message. You have to have some sort of physical presence and some sort of physical impact on the game if you're not going to score. And he just hasn't been doing that. He's kind of just been like, I'm here, I'm on the floor. If a rebound comes to me, great. If it doesn't, somebody else will get it. So not the kind of mindset you want for that guy.
DeAndre Ayton from the Kevin Durant press conference after they won Game 4 and and Jokic had 50 points or whatever. And Jokic was like, I had to work hard for those points. So like they weren't easy. And they asked Kevin Durant about that and he laughed and he goes, he didn't have to work hard for that. He literally just shit on his teammate immediately. Like stop. He didn't work hard at all. These were easy baskets. They were very easy baskets. Shout.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said, Gene, and I kind of agree with Cachell to some degree. I think, I will never make an excuse for anybody who, if you're trying and you put up bad numbers or have a bad game, like that happens, like even for professionals. If you're going to be paid 20, 25, $30 million a year, and like you said, and you can't sprint down the court or you can't put effort out in the middle of a playoff series to help your team win, that I can't get on board with. I mean, anybody who saw how the year ended last year could see this coming a mile away. I think he's being involved more in the game plan right now simply because Chris Paul's not playing. But when Chris Paul's back, he's the fourth option on offense. And like Cottrell said, he is a guy that it comes down and, he touches the ball 3 times in the first quarter. He's going to check out, and that's what you're going to get. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade him. I mean, maybe he ends up in Golden State and they get Jordan Poole back, because I firmly don't believe Jordan Poole is going to be on that team next year either. But I think you guys hit it. Like I said, I think you guys hit it both hit it right on the head. You can't make statements of how you want to be the best big guy in the league and this and that, and you can't sprint down the court to support your teammates, or you're giving no effort on the defensive end, or you're just going through the motions when they're calling sets that you're not going to touch the ball on. I mean, that's just part of being professional, and it's part of being a good teammate. And he's neither right now. So Phoenix has a problem. Phoenix has a DeAndre Ayton problem.
You are 100% correct. DeAndre Ayton is a coward, and you don't listen. If you don't hustle, if you don't put forth the effort, I have no sympathy for you. Speaking of teams not putting forth the effort, Game 4 in Miami was an absolute joke for the New York Knicks. The game is in hand. It's a 4-point game, and the New York Knicks allowed not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 shots on the defensive end from loose balls, from offensive rebounds. I was embarrassed for the whole city of New York. The effort, and Julius Randle. You heard Julius Randle afterwards. Well, they
said it best.
Maybe they wanted it more.
Yep.
How does your superstar player say they wanted it more? Julius, you were one of the guys on the court. It wasn't like, don't call your teammates out for effort. You were there.
But I also I think that is part of it, though. I think he was saying himself included, though.
That's the way I took it as well.
Okay.
I don't think he was saying, I was trying hard, nobody else was. I think he said, like, they asked him, and he was saying, like, as a team, he's like, they wanted it more. Like, I felt that he included himself in that.
Okay. I just looked at it like Julius Randle saying something like that. It was laughable. I couldn't take it. I've been very disappointed with the New York Knicks in this series. They're the better roster. They have the better roster, but they're not the better team.
They ain't got Jimmy Butler.
It's not even just Jimmy, man. It's not even just Jimmy.
Their role players have definitely come to play this series. And with the Knicks, you saw their role players play phenomenal in that first series against the Cavs. But this series, it hasn't been that way. Josh Hart was an X factor in that series against Cleveland. This series, he hasn't quite been that. Emmanuel Quickley, even before he got hurt, he hadn't been that X factor for that Knicks team either. You know, a guy that finished second in sixth man of the year voting, and he was pretty much a ghost for those first 3 games, and now he's hurt, and he's probably not going to play in Game 5. So the Knicks, they got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out fast, because Miami will come into New York, and they're not afraid to beat you on your home court.
Is Julius Randle on the team next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I think they keep Julius because how I understand is RJ still on he hasn't gotten his extension yet, has he?
No.
So I think they keep Julius, and I think they probably try to go after a third max caliber guy and see if that works for him.
I move on from Julius and then use a max contract for another player to play in that system, because Julius Randle, the offense just runs poorly when he's on the court. It runs better when he's not there.
I mean, I agree with that for sure.
Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Emmanuel Quickly. You got a nice nucleus. Can't forget. You just said his name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
Josh Hart, Emmanuel Quickly.
No. RJ Barrett. Can't forget him. I think that's a good nucleus to build around, and I try to get a nice, 4 or 5. That, man, I don't know. I guess it would be a bad spot for him I don't know if you can grow Hart, but like a situation like DeAndre Ayton going there or something. But I can't look at the Knicks seriously when Julius Randle is dribbling out the shot clock to take a fall away 3-pointer or drive to the baseline and shoot a falling out of bounds shot. Like, I can't take him seriously.
100%. But I will say the one thing though, with the Knicks specifically, if they make a move like that and they get rid of Julius Randle as good of a season as they've had so far, getting to the second round, obviously that's not the goal, but you move on from Julius Randle and you bring back something that doesn't work, that'd be the quickest way for Tibbs to lose his job. And I'm not saying that.
I'll tell you something right now. Tibbs is getting abused in this series.
He is for sure.
Eric Spoelstra is proving his worth. Man, that team is well coached. They're a well-oiled machine in the sense that they're not that talented. They do not have the talent to compete in this series. And they're winning. Shall we?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't think they move on from Julius Randle. I think he was also kind of the first piece that was there. And, he kind of went through the crappy couple years of the Knicks. And, he's kind of, for lack of a better term, the leader in that locker room. And I would be surprised if they trade him.
So is Michael Carter-Williams. So is Nerlens Noel. Those guys are the first pieces, and they're not here.
Yeah, they're not the same caliber player.
Michael Carter-Williams won a Rookie of the Year, and they moved on.
And Julius Randle is going to be an All-NBA team guy, though. Like, it is slightly different, but I do hear you.
Move on from him. The team works better without him. I'm going to tell you something right now. Julius Randle is a poor man's Carmelo Anthony. Just slow with the ball, shoots the ball. He's a poor man's Carmelo.
I don't know about that, but I just think it's a big issue that Julius Randle's the best player on your team, regardless of how you feel between him and Brunson. Regardless of how you feel, Jalen Brunson can't be the best player on a championship winning team, and neither can Julius Randle. So
agreed.
You got to figure out how to make that work. If you bring in a guy that's better, then I think you could probably find a way to make it work. But regardless, that's not going to win you a championship.
I think you guys have both touched on already. I mean, with Jalen Brunson coming in, the way he plays, it just doesn't mesh well with the way Julius Randle would prefer to play. And your two best players. So when your two best players are not, for lack of a better term, on the same page or, helping the offense move fluidly, it's a problem. And you're seeing it, front and center in the playoffs, especially in this series. So, I think Cachell just made a really good point. I don't think you win a championship with either one of those guys being your star. You're like your number one star.
The Detroit Pistons did it with Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton.
20 years ago, it's a different league now.
I get what you're saying, but you got to play together as a team.
That's fine, but again,
and Julius Randle is bad for that team. Jalen Brunson is the better player, and he's better for the team. He runs the offense. He's a good point guard. He's a good distributor. He's a good defensive player.
Well, he runs the offense the way he wants to run the offense, which is, again, it doesn't mesh with Randall. It doesn't mean Randall's wrong. It's just your point guard plays
Randall's
differently.
running ISO ball. He's not running an offense.
But the other problem, though, is that a lot of the Knicks regular season, when they were winning games, they were running the same offense. So that's what got you here. And that's not going to work in the playoffs. Kobe said it about James Harden way back when. This kind of ball isn't going to win you championships. He's going to have to find a way to change his game. Same thing's going to happen with Julius Randle. And, when the Knicks don't have to rely on Julius Randle to take these dumb ISO shots and just say, here, Julius, create some offense for us, they'll be in a better shape. Now, I'm not saying that Julius Randle he should never be moved from New York or anything like that, but I think the Knicks have serious issues if they're trying to be serious about winning the championship. It's not just moving on from Julius Randle. You got to find a way to get a superstar to New York.
All right. Well, we got to move on to the 76ers versus the Boston Celtics. Opened up with the marquee matchup with the Lakers Warriors and ended with the other marquee matchup in Philadelphia Boston. Got a lot of things to say about this series, but I'm going to start with this one. If you're a Sixers fan, be happy, but be cautiously optimistic. The series is not over. And listen, I'll tell you something right now. I might do this. That's why I waited to hear. I might take $500 and put it on the Celtics Warriors parlay series line. Because if I lose, the Sixers move the next round. Okay. But I'll tell you right now, if you made me bet right now who wins this year, I still take Boston. They're the better basketball team. Now, here's what I'm going to say. The 76, look, I shit on him plenty. I trash him plenty. But Doc Rivers had a hell of a game 5. He pulled every string the right way. Got to give him credit for the Daniel House move. Daniel House played great. He didn't play the whole series. Just throw him in there. DeAnthony Melton's playing great defense. Their switches are perfect. I love what they're doing defensively. Tobias Harris is playing good defense. And if he wasn't in foul trouble, I think this is Tobias' game. Tobias went off in that game when he was on the court. I was calling for Tobias Harris to finally have a game, and he was having one. Now, what hurt was he got in foul trouble early, and 5 fouls. It's going to kick you off the court. PJ Tucker, people trashed him all year. He is the difference in this team. That conversation that he had with Joel Embiid after in the middle of game 4, where he yelled at him and said, "This isn't you. Nobody can stop you one-on-one." And in nicest words possible, he said, "Stop being a bitch." That's what he said to him. I love the energy, the toughness, and the fight that he brings to a basketball team. And this 76ers team is different. They are a different team than they've been over the years. And it was like you were watching them be the same 76ers team down the stretch in game 4. We all know this team. Blow a 16-point lead. They're going to lose the game to Boston down the stretch. And PJ Tucker happened. The N1 on the offensive rebound, the yelling in Joel Embiid's face to be more aggressive, and James Harden. Man, is that man turned back the clock this series. For all the hate that man got for game 2 and 3, games 1, 4, and 5, he played incredible basketball. The 76ers, if they win this series, they're going to the NBA Finals. You can skip over the Eastern Conference Finals because they're going to run through Miami. I'm telling you that right now. Miami has enough in the tank to beat a New York Knicks team, a Milwaukee Bucks team, but the 76ers are too deep and too strong, and they took the toughest player from that team in PJ Tucker. And I'm telling you right now, if PJ Tucker's running around with Jimmy Butler that whole series, that is going to be a quick series for the 76ers. Book it. They got to win game 6, though, because if they go to game 7 in Boston, I'm telling you right now, book your trip to Cabo because it's over. They got game 6 is as much of a must win as it will ever be for the 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think Game 6 is just as much a must win, if not more than Game 5 was. Uh, I posted it last night, and you hit on a lot of it already. That was the most complete team win that I can remember them playing in a very long time. Um, you nailed the James Harden stuff, exactly. He took his shots last night when they weren't forced, when they were there. He made sure he got Maxey involved. He made sure Toby got the ball. They both shot well. And that's the result. If James is giving you 17 points, 8 boards, and 12 assists, and Toby and Maxey are shooting well, factor in with Tucker's defense and JoJo having just another JoJo game, they're going to be really tough to beat. It's do they have 6 or 7 more of them in them, and that's what they need to do. I agree with you. I think they run through New York or Miami, whoever they get. They just have to get past Boston. I think Boston has looked at times, like Boston, and other times they, I think Cottrell said it earlier, they at times look like they don't know what the hell they're doing, which is just really weird for that team. Jason Tatum ended up with a bunch of points last night. A lot of them were pretty hollow towards the end. He's doing his normal thing, kind of, where he disappears for long stretches of a time. Jaylen Brown's been pretty good. Marcus Smart's had spurts where he's been really good. Other than that, I don't think you can. If you're a Boston fan, you can say anybody else has played well on that side.
Bill, you're missing something.
I mean, I might say it. I'm not done, right. But I think Doris Burke did an interview about it today about JoJo. The rundown block after his dumb turnover. That's the first time I've ever. Like, he lost that ball, and you could see him running like he was going. He wasn't going to stop. In previous years, you don't get that from him. You talked about the PJ Tucker yelling at him on the bench. I think it's starting to set in. This is kind of his time, and it's definitely his team. But I think he realizes what's in front of him right now. You mentioned the game 4 where they were up by a lot, and then Boston made that run. And you're like, we're gonna piss this game away. Boston got it to, I believe, 9 last night, 2 possessions in a row. You went Maxey 3, JoJo 3, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, those were daggers at 7 minutes to go in the game. Boston never even got remotely that close again. I truly believe. I think they win tomorrow night. I really do. I think they have to. I will give Doc his roses. And it's one of those things. Like, those are the type of moments, like Gene said. If you ever look at a team that wins a championship in any sport, have it be hockey, you see it all the time in baseball, where a guy comes in, and just gets a huge pinch hit that can change the series. Or those are all stepping stones you need to have, to win a championship. And you see House come in, if they're not playing for like 6 games, play great. Melton's been playing great off the bench. Those are the type of things that add up and build. Little things become big things. I say that all the time. Those are little things that add up to big wins. And the Sixers got it last night. I hope they close it out in 6. I think they will. I think Wells Fargo is going to be insanity tomorrow night. But
Cottrell said it perfectly earlier. Cottrell said it perfectly. I'm telling you right now, the biggest difference with Boston is Ime Udoka not being there. I have zero idea. Look, man, Tyrese Maxey has had 4 games this NBA season where he didn't have double-digit points. 3 of them were versus the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
For what reason in the world you took Marcus Smart off Harden and off of Maxey to stick him on Joel Embiid is absurd to me. I'm going to make another point. Marcus Smart needs to fall back. He needs to stop thinking he's the leader of that team, because he's not. He might be the point guard or the emotional leader on that team, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have to step up. Here's the problem I have with the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown was playing out of his friggin' mind in game 4. Started incredible. Took 1 shot in the 4th quarter. How Jaylen Brown has not touched a ball late in games is beyond me. How Marcus Smart took the game winner in regulation and had the shot take the game winner in overtime is beyond me.
I'll agree with you on the Jaylen part. I don't know how much I blame Marcus Smart because I feel like he's the one that wants the ball though. Like where is Jason Tatum late in games? Well, I agree with you 1,000,000% that Jaylen Brown's the better option. If I'm picking between Brown and Smart to take a shot, like I'm taking Jaylen Brown every day, twice on Sunday. But at the same time, like I don't. I mean, we talked about this last year, like when we had that great conversation about who's the better player between the two of them. I don't see Jason Tatum. It doesn't come off the screen to me that he's showing up that he wants to be the guy on that team. And
I think they're missing the guy, if I'm being honest with you. And I think the offense runs more efficiently when Malcolm Brogdon's running it than Marcus Smart.
And you could be 100% right, but Jason Tatum, for lack of better terms, if you ask anybody, is the guy on that team. And I don't see it. I don't see, we talk like he doesn't strike me as the guy that's going to go into the huddle and say, I'm giving you the ball, I'm taking the last shot, and that's it.
Do you know what stood out to me more than anything, Bill? Joe Mazzulla after game 2 at a press conference. And I don't know if you guys picked up on this like I did. Ime Udoka last year, when asked about the Celtics, Marcus Smart's our leader. He's this, he's that. This is the guy I want. Like, he empowered the team. He never made it about himself. Joe Mazzulla at the end of game 2's press conference got snippy with the reporters. Aren't you going to compliment us on the adjustments we made from game 1 to game 2? Are you kidding me? Joe Mazzulla is so out of his league, and I don't think they had any idea what they were dealing with going into this season, what happened with Udoka. And listen, what happened with him, I understand why they had to make a change, but Joe Mazzulla is the reason this team is where they're at right now. That's his coaching adjustments. And listen, all you have to do is listen to him and he'll take credit for it.
And I mean, I think in this series too, you mentioned, do you think the team runs better when Brogdon's the point guard of the team? I 100% agree with that. I will say they mentioned it. They mentioned it on ESPN earlier today. I think the one flaw, especially when you get into the playoff time, is that Jaylen Brown has been the guy consistently, throughout his time in the league, where when Boston's in the playoffs, when it gets late down in the games, Jaylen Brown doesn't seem like he wants to be that guy.
It's fair.
There has been times where, Jaylen Brown, if he has it going in a specific game, you'll see him be aggressive late in games, but Jaylen Brown tends to shy away from the ball in late game situations. Fair. And if you're the 76ers, obviously they're sticking PJ Tucker on Tatum. And late in the game, I would say I'm making sure Jason Tatum isn't the guy to beat me. Now, whatever the Celtics do to combat that, so be it. If it's Jaylen Brown, so be it. He hasn't shown to be that guy, but if he is that guy, so be it. And so you get late in the game where the Sixers, they take away Jason Tatum, and it's like, hey, someone else has to beat me. Marcus Smart's like, well, shit, if nobody else is going to do it, I guess I got to be the one to do it.
That's how I feel.
I don't hate on Marcus Smart for that. I do think, in a sense, he does need to kind of learn his role. He's not that guy for them. The one thing that's going to be, terrible for Boston is that if they lose this series, Jaylen Brown hasn't been extended yet. You got to think that it might be, as good as Jaylen Brown is, it might be time to try to figure out a different superstar to bring in. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, as well as they play together, they don't work off of one another. You don't see Jaylen Brown coming to set a screen for Jason Tatum because chances are they probably got the same kind of guy, 6'7", 6'8", lengthy defender guarding them. So they can't run the pick and roll off of each other. They do have a similar-esque kind of game where, they need the ball, ISO ball, get them going. So, I mean, I think that's the one thing that's really held them back in this series. And you guys have already given credit to Doc. I'm going to give him some more love. He's made every single adjustment possible in this series. You've seen that Joe tried to make somewhat of that caliber adjustment, putting in Peyton Pritchard, who hadn't really been getting minutes, and that didn't work out for them the same way that it worked out getting the Daniel House minutes. I said it earlier when we first broke down who was the most disappointing. I do not understand how the Celtics aren't doubling Joel Embiid with anyone else other than who's guarding Maxey or James Harden. You have to make the role players beat you. The Lakers, they tried to give you the blueprint, how they're going through it. The Clippers, they kind of gave you that too in their first round series against that Suns team. If you weren't guarding Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, we're going to double off and we're going to make those other guys beat us. The Nuggets did it same way against that Suns team. Landry Shamet had to drop 5 or 6 threes for them to win that game 4. So you make the roles players beat you, especially when you're at home. It's going to be tough now.
I don't think it'll happen. But if I'm the Boston Celtics, I'm starting game 6 with Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Robert Williams. That's my starting 5. Yep. Robert Williams is the biggest body they have that can guard Joel Embiid as best as humanly possible. And you can help on Embiid with Tatum because Tatum would be the 4 who would be guarding PJ Tucker in that situation.
Yep.
When you have Smart and Brogdon and Jaylen Brown on the court, Brown's going to guard James Harden. Brogdon is big enough and tall enough to guard Tobias Harris. And you have Marcus Smart on Maxey. I fear Joe Mazzulla figuring that out.
Easiest thing in the world to do. I was sitting there. I was really sitting there just really trying to figure out what the hell was going on, especially in game 5 when you had to pull Tobias Harris and Reed was getting so many minutes.
Yeah.
Like, how are you not doubling off with these guys? It made no sense to me. But like you said, Joe, I mean, he's rookie head coach. He just doesn't get it yet. With Ime, you wouldn't see these problems.
Okay. I agree with you 100%. All right. Well, I'm going to give my predictions real quick and you guys can give yours. I have the Nuggets winning after what I watched last night. I'm officially off the Suns bandwagon completely. I think 25% chance was fair. Now we look back at it in a 3-2 series, but I have the Nuggets winning that series. They could just win in game 6 because I don't know how much more Booker and Durant can give them, but I can't see Phoenix going into Denver and winning game 7. I have the Miami Heat wrapping it up, maybe game 5, if not game 6. But I will say this. The Golden State Warriors coming back from down 3-1 to win that series. I think they win game 5. You get game 6 Clay. And I don't think LeBron and AD can hold up a game 7 in Oracle. I can't say it. I'll take Golden State in 7 in that series. And I'll take the Boston Celtics in 7 over to Philadelphia 76ers. That's my 4 picks right now. That's where I'm actively picking. What's your thoughts, Cottrell?
I mean, that's interesting. I'm not surprised with the Warriors pick because I can easily see that going the same way. They get a home game tonight. They obviously will have the home game in game 7. And they have the motivation that, hey, LeBron's done it to us. Why the hell can't we do it back to him? And it's not like these games have been all lopsided. Like the last game, they had it in the bag and just fumbled away at the end. So I can definitely see that happening. So I'm not quite surprised there. I am surprised that you picked against the Sixers, not just because it's the hometown team, but for me, I saw everything I needed to see in that game 5. You're 5 games in. Joe Mazzulla hasn't figured out that adjustment yet. And is still rocking Marcus Smart on Joel Embiid. I don't see that happening. I think the Sixers win it in 6. I think they go out in front of that crowd at Wells Fargo and they give them something to celebrate. And you're essentially looking at a cakewalk to the NBA Finals.
Look, Cottrell, I've been beaten. I've been robbed by this team.
I get it.
I feel like a battered wife.
Jesus.
Like he's not going to hit me again.
Jesus
like I swear to God.
But the thing is, though, is that that I've been on that same boat with you. I've said, you're not going to win anything as long as Doc Rivers is there. But he's made improvements, and I have to recognize that. Now, if he goes back to being the same old Doc, of course I'm gonna be like, I should have saw this coming. But it seems like he's gotten past that. He's outcoached Joe Mazzulla in this series, and I think with the talent alone in that next series against the Heat or the Knicks would get you to the NBA Finals.
I hear you, and I hope I'm wrong, and maybe it's like reverse psychology. The year the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, I picked against them every single week. Maybe it's just that's what the Philadelphia teams need. I'm a diehard fan. I watch every minute. I love them. It's just when you have been taken to the woodshed so many times,
I get it. I do. The other series in the East, I do have the Heat in 5. I think the Heat go to New York. They close it out. The Knicks have really just they haven't shown me any heart. I mean, the one game that they won, Jimmy Butler didn't play, and it was a close game down the stretch. So, I mean, this series really could have been a sweep had Jimmy been healthy the entire series. So sure. I do think the Heat go to New York, and they close them out in 5. And then in that Nuggets series, I do think Kevin Durant and Devin Booker force a game 7. But I have the Nuggets winning that ultimately to match up with the Lakers. I think the Lakers close it out in 6. They lose tonight. I think tonight's actually one of those blowout losses. Warriors come out looking hot, win by 18, 20 points, and I think the Lakers close it out at home.
Charlie.
I'm like Gene. I want to pick Golden State in 7. I'm gonna go with Coachella. I think Golden State wins handily tonight. I think the Lakers squeak one out at home, game 6, and close them out. I think Denver closes out Phoenix in 7. I think Booker and Durant are going to have to empty the tank to win game 6, and then I just don't think they're going to have enough left. I think Denver goes home and wins comfy at home. I think the Knicks will win tonight. I think, we'll probably already start. I don't know what the score is, but
18-12 Miami.
I think the Knicks will figure out a way to win in front of that home crowd, force a game 6. And like I said, I think Miami takes care of business at home as well. I think the Sixers close out. I think last night was just a combination of a lot of things that I've wanted to see for a long time out of not only JoJo, but you factor in the PJ, yelling at him on the bench. The way Toby played, the way Maxey
wasn't on the bench. You said that twice. It was at the free throw line. Like I couldn't. I loved it. It was on the court.
He got in with him on the bench too. But regardless, I don't think there's any way they come home and lose. I think the Sixers close it out in 6.
All righty. Guys, can we call an audible here? I see the order that you put for the show. I want to knock out. Oh Jesus, Control's gone. There you go. I want to call an audible here. I see the order that you put for the show. I want to knock out UFC recap before we get into our Mount Rushmore. So I want to take a time with that.
Yeah, I have UFC. Here.
I thought you had second, not Mount Rushmore's, the the top 10
bucket list.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to knock out UFC first.
Yeah, I got that on there.
So UFC recap. Let's talk about the main card. Let's talk about the main events. I'm gonna tell you something right now. I don't know. Shall you watch the fights?
I watched them after you guys did. I didn't watch them Saturday night, so I knew the results, and obviously, I was reading what you guys were writing, but then I did watch them.
Okay. I just want to start with a couple of things, and I don't know if it's because I actively root against them. I don't know if that's what it is. But like I watched a fight with Mooney. Me and Kevin David watched a fight at Buffalo Wild Wings. And I scored it with them. We scored the whole thing one by one. And we both had it 3-2 Cejudo. We had him winning 2, 3, and 5.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think Cejudo did enough to take the title. So, like, I understand why 2 judges scored it 3-2 Sterling, because I believe you have to beat the champion, and Triple C did not do that. He did not beat the champion. It was very close. And if you went like a total score of the fight, I think the rounds that Aljamain won, they were more dominant than the ones Triple C won. But I watched the fight again yesterday morning, and I feel even stronger that he won 2, 3, and 5. Like, I don't think they were close. They were, I guess 3 was close. That's the arguable round. Am I correct?
I personally thought it was 1, 2, and 4 that I had Aljo win.
Hold on, let me just see the judges' scorecards. Yeah,
one of them had 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah.
One of them had 1, 4, and 5, which 5 is absurd to me. I mean, not absurd because not much happened in that 5th round, but I thought Henry won the 5th round.
Depending on 2 and 5 are the ones, depending on how you scored them, is who won the fight. And they were the ones that were mixed across the cards. I'll say this. It's a little, I don't want to say I'm biased, but like I already knew what you two thought about it going in. But then watching the fight, I agree with what Gene said. I don't think at any point you thought Cejudo was dominating the fight, but I think he won the fight.
Wow. The deciding judge, Derek Clearly, that gave Aljamain Sterling, gave him 5th.
Yeah.
Gave him the 5th round. I don't know how you gave him the 5th round. I thought the 5th round was very decisive.
Yeah. So it's
not that I thought it was like super decisive, but I thought that Henry won it. I mean, not much happened to me, but I mean, I thought Henry won it, and I didn't think that there was going to be someone that said Aljo won it.
And by principle, I think all 3 of us agree. Like, it has to look like you definitely beat the champ to take his belt.
I agree.
But that being said, I think he won the fight. I mean, and I don't think it should have to be like you got to bloody somebody up or kick him around the cage for 4 out of 5 rounds, for it to be a decision to go your way. Like if you ask me who the better fighter was after 5 rounds and who won, I would say Cejudo won the fight.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not like being a hater. I try to watch his fights, Aljamain's fights, and be as open-minded as humanly possible. Like, obviously, he dominated the 2nd and 3rd round versus Peter Yan with the takedowns, but I thought Peter won 1, 4, and 5. And I was okay with it being called an even fight by giving Aljo a 10-8 in like 2 or 3 because they were both super dominant. And both these fights that we're talking about, that I side clearly with the other side, I think that I would have been okay with draws. But in my personal opinion, I don't think Aljamain Sterling has won a fight for the title yet. Not one.
I wouldn't have been okay with the draw for this fight. The Peter Yan fight, 100% would have been okay of. He had his back for 4 minutes and was very dominant in 2 and 3. So I would have been okay if they had it as a draw in that fight. This one, it definitely was a close fight, but I never saw a 10-8 round, so I don't know how I would have been able to score it as a draw.
My point being is I'd be fine if they were like, this is a tie and Aljamain gets to keep the belt.
Okay.
Like I know you can't call it a draw because there's no 10-8 rounds, but like my point of the matter is outside of Pillar,
it was such a close fight. You would have been okay with it being a draw.
Correct.
If it was just like open kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like I don't think anybody's terribly upset that he kept his belt, but at the same time, I just don't know how you realistically say he won the fight. And that's it just falls in that weird gray area. I don't know.
I will say the one thing about it is Henry said in the cage, I thought I won 2, 3, and 5. And so he agreed with you there, Gene. In his press conference, though, Triple C was a lot more humble than I was expecting. Yeah, sure. And even after that statement in the cage, him saying, I lost tonight and, maybe this is it for me again. If it were me and I thought I won that fight, I was very surprised that he's like, let's fight again. Like this is unfinished business.
I think that happens though, Cottrell, when you lose the overall, because there's no question to me that Henry Cejudo lost the overall fight. Like if you just, was like, because the rounds Aljo won 1 and 4 were the most dominant 1 round.
For sure.
So, like,
sure.
to me, I don't think that Henry could walk away from that fight being like, I won the fight.
Yeah, I mean, that part I do agree with, but I was gonna say in the post fight press conference, he even said, I gotta give Aljo his credit.
Yeah.
He did what he was supposed to do in there. But as a whole, though, just breaking down that fight was, I hate to call it boring because I do like wrestling, but
I don't think it was boring. I thought it was a masterclass, and I thought it was 2 very intelligent fighters. And maybe because I'm so,
if you're into that's
fine. We got it. He's good.
If you're into the sport like that, then I 100% understand. But for me, that fight went very closely to how I was expecting it to go.
Okay.
I just don't know what happens next. I mean, I know you get O'Malley and Aljo next, but Sean's not going to be able to wrestle. No, Aljo's going to backpack him for
that's going to be
however long.
That's going to be his first decisive.
Dillashaw is, but Dillashaw's shoulder popped out.
Yeah,
a minute and a half into the fight.
And again, I don't blame Aljamain for that. Like he won that fight, like he had to. Like there's no, you can't put any blame on Aljo for that. Talking about like somebody walking healthy and actually him like actually beating somebody with, I would say no kind of controversy. I think he's going to handle O'Malley easily.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I think it's just bad matchup for O'Malley. O'Malley's not that strong of a wrestler, and as big as O'Malley is, of course, he does have that knockout power, but I don't think he even gets the chance to put it on Aljo like that.
I really truly believe that he has to really catch him in the first round or two to get Aljo. I think you have to really catch him to get Aljo not to be able to shoot as well as he wants. I think O'Malley's got to stop him first 2 rounds.
And the other problem is that if you catch him and he goes to the ground and he's just on his back there, O'Malley's probably not going to jump down and get on top of him because that's not what he wants. So he's going to have to really catch him clean and knock him out because he won't win this fight by points. That's for sure.
Completely agree with you.
I think Aljo's got enough chin too. I mean, we've seen O'Malley beat people, but I mean, you see a lot of people take a lot of his punches too. I don't know. Like
his punches are flashy, they're not strong.
Correct, and I think he's got to hit somebody
and precise.
He would have to Aljo precisely like on the button. I think to knock him out. I don't see it. I don't. I think Aljo is just going to throw him around the ring for 5 rounds if it goes that long.
Okay.
I will say I think O'Malley's punches are strong, but strong for that weight class. Like if he was fighting the weight that he looks, I mean, O'Malley looks like he should probably be a middleweight. If he was not middleweight, a lightweight. If he was fighting where, with heavier guys, I don't think he would be that strong. But just because those guys are so small compared to O'Malley, he's powerful for that division, I would say.
I think everyone forgets that Aljamain does not have the chin you think he does. Do you remember the Marlon Moraes fight? Like, am I the only one that remembers that fight and him knocking him out in the first round? Like, I remember that. I guess anybody can get caught. I get it, but Marlon Moraes was not like a stud fighter, and he knocked him out first round.
Yeah, again, it's fighting. You get caught with a punch. That's what happens. I mean, I think Aljo is a night and day different what kind of fighter he is now versus then. I mean, I know it doesn't change your chin as much per se, but I don't know.
Gotta give Funk Masters credit though. He's definitely, and he hasn't run from great competition. He fought Jan, Dillashaw, Jan, and Triple C, and Corey Sandhagen. So for being honest with you, his last 5 fights have been all top guys in the division. I'll give him credit, but another guy we have to give credit to. Remember the name, Bilal Muhammad. Guys, Gilbert Burns shouldn't have took this fight.
Don't disagree.
But
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. That is the one fight that I quite literally fell asleep on. So I have no comments about this fight.
I do. I have
I saw the score afterwards though, and looks like Bilal was as dominant as could be.
The 25-minute ass kicking.
I think that Gilbert had his moments. I had it 3-2. Most judges had it 4-1.
Really?
I
think two had it 4-1. One had it 5-0.
I had it 3-2. But I don't think we talk about like how you have it and what it was. Bilal Muhammad's 3 rounds that he won were so much clearly. It wasn't a question who won the fight. I just don't know why Gilbert Burns took that fight that quick. And I understand it. It's a nice payday. But Bilal Muhammad is just done nothing but show you he deserves to be in this spot. And, man, you want to talk about a guy that's went through war, like his last 2 fights, right? Sean Brady, up-and-coming stud, beat the crap out of him. It was 15-0, and Bilal Muhammad just knocked him out in the second round. Vicente Luque just beat the crap out of him. You got Gilbert Burns, and that's a decisive decision. Wonder Boy Thompson, Damian Maia. Damian Maia is not really. Look,
not anymore, but that was a good fight. Going up against a guy that's a wrestler like Damian Maia.
We'll call it like it is. Bilal Muhammad deserves a title shot, and I think he deserves one more than Colby does. I know Colby's going to get it, but if you had an argument, and if you said who deserves it more, Colby Chaos Covington or Bilal Muhammad, it's Bilal Muhammad right now, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you put the resumes side by side. I 100% hear what you're saying. The only reason right now, at least while I'll stick with Colby, is that outside, I mean, Kamaru Usman has been his last 2 losses, and I understand that he's not the champion anymore. But before that, Colby had looked as dominant as anybody in that division, and we had even said it on the show. If Kamaru Usman wasn't in this division, then Colby Covington would probably be your champion at 170. So, I think Colby should get the next title shot, especially given the issue and the incident that happened with Jorge. That's a big reason why he hadn't been in the cage.
Because Colby's going to take the belt from Leon because he's the better fighter, and then Colby versus Bilal is going to be a fight that everyone wants to see.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're gonna get the talk, and then even stylistically, Bilal can also wrestle. So I think that sets up for a good fight, for the UFC.
Bilal also has the cardio to keep up with Colby Covington.
Yeah, I think the one thing with, and I think that was the one thing with Gilbert. I don't know what he really had to gain out of it to take that fight. If he wins
a guaranteed title shot, I understand why he took it.
I guess, but again, the same conversation we just had. He wasn't going in front of Colby, so you're taking a fight against a very good fighter on short rests to really not improve your position. I mean,
that's what I kind of disagree with. I understand on short notice. I personally would not have taken it either, but you take it on the 1 month's notice. You fight there. Hey, Dana's already said you're next in line for the belt after Colby gets his shot. So you probably get the next 6, 7, maybe 8 months off. I know fighters don't necessarily like to sit that long on the shelf, but you fight 2 times in a row, then you get that long of a layoff, and your next fight's going to be for the title, and you're going to be fresh for it. I understand his camp and how they weighed the pros and cons of it. Obviously, it didn't work out for him, but I understand it from his perspective.
Okay. Guys, I don't have too much more to get into. I think that Gilbert Burns was outclassed by a better fighter when this fight happened. And I love Gilbert. I love me some Gilbert Burns, but Bilal Muhammad was just technically outstriking him, and he was better on the ground, and it's better on both. I couldn't believe it. I watched that fight, and Gilbert got caught a few times. I thought he was going to get knocked out. I've never seen. I watched Khamzat Chimaev rock this man's world in the first round. I mean, absolutely pound on this dude's face. Even in the third round, when he won the round, there was so many. Bilal Muhammad just almost knocked him out twice, to the point where Gilbert was shooting because he was on stilts. So I gotta give all the credit in the world to Bilal Muhammad, and I look forward to a Bilal Muhammad Colby Covington fight, because man, that is going to be a disrespectful, a lot of trash talk, and it's gonna be a great sell. Colby runs through Leon. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind Colby beats Leon Edwards, and I think after Colby beats Leon, Bilal Muhammad versus Colby will be what the UFC fans deserve.
the build up to that fight, the press conferences, the whatever UFC calls that show, for the training camps, it's all going to be really good. It's going to be really fun.
Embedded.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Did you guys see that? And I know we'll get more into it down the road. They announced the card for International Fight Week today.
No, I didn't see it.
290. So you're gonna have unification at the featherweight division. Yair Rodriguez and Alexander Volkanovski.
Okay.
And then your co-main is going to be Brandon Moreno against Alex Pantoja, the Brazilian, for the second time. So those are the two headliners on there. I think Jalen Turner is fighting Dan Hooker on that card. You get another Bo Nickel appearance,
bro.
Then Robert Whitaker is on that card as well.
Yeah, Robert Whitaker is going to fight up and coming fighter. His name's Dricus Duplessis. I'm telling you right now, bro, that's a bad fight for Robert Whitaker. I'm not saying Robert Whitaker loses that fight, but it's a nothing to gain fight.
I agree with you there, but I know what the UFC is trying to set it up. Duplessis has this beef with Izzy. Basically he called Izzy a fake African. Is basically how he went about it, because Duplessis is from South Africa and Izzy's New Zealand, but originally from Nigeria, all that. So they got this ongoing beef, and so UFC wants him to beat Whitaker and say, hey, you're justified for a title shot. I don't see it. Duplessis win over Darren Till. I get it. Darren Till hasn't been what he was cracked up to be, and I think you're going to go up against a guy like Robert Whitaker, who has that experience and is still an elite fighter for that division. I think you're going to see Robert Whitaker show him the ropes a little bit.
I think Whitaker's in a lot of the same spot as almost like Colby is. I think if it wasn't for Izzy, I think Whitaker's probably, the middleweight champ at some point in his career.
I don't think it was.
He was.
I don't think it was just the Darren Phil fight that they got him this. I think you forget the fact that he just beat the dog shit out of Derek Brunson. Like, did you forget that? Like he
did, but
destroyed Action Brunson.
100%. But Derek Brunson's one of those guys, though, that, lack of a better term, Derek Brunson's a one-trick pony.
Agreed. But he looked great. And I think it's a bad fight for Robert Whitaker, if I'm being honest with you. There's nothing to gain out of it. All right, but I got it. We got to move. We got to move into this, man. I've been waiting for this all day.
Wait, I just want one last comment on it. Whitaker is in a tough spot because I bet Dana White brought him to the room and they said, "Here are your two options: you fight Duplessis or you fight Hamza." And he was probably like, "Give me the South African kid."
They need to get Hamza to fight.
They do.
They do.
I don't think anybody's running down the street to fight him right now, though.
I wouldn't want to fight him. It's the best fighter in the world right now.
No thanks.
Might be unprofessional. He might be a jerk. He might be whatever you want to call him. But there's no one can argue what he's done in that ring. It's lost one round in his career.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to get into this. I can't wait to get into this. Shally, I want to see your list. I feel like me and your list will be identical. Cottrell, I know you're. Here they are. Let's check them out. Oh, this is interesting.
So I did mine a little bit different. Obviously, if you want me to go first, I'll go first. But
no, let's go left to right. Cottrell.
Okay.
I don't think we should do it 10, 9, 8. I don't think we should do it 10. All of us go. I think we should do our list the way they are because there's so many repeats. Or do you think we should do the round robin?
I don't know. Whatever you guys want to do.
Let's go around so someone's not talking for 10 minutes on their own.
Yeah, I agree.
Fair enough. I'll start it off.
We're gonna wrap. So start with.
Okay. So for me, number 10, I have World Series game. Obviously, I would hope that it could be Cleveland playing in it, but any World Series game for me I don't need a specific number for it. Just being in that atmosphere, hopefully cheering on my team is definitely a place and a game that I want to get to one day.
So, I don't want to say I was at a disadvantage per se. I went to one of the World Series games when the Phillies won. in '08. So obviously I can't put that on the list.
So it's already checked off. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have you'll notice I don't have the Kentucky Derby on mine either because I've done that as well. They would both
But there's
be on there.
another one you haven't done that isn't on your list. And I'm looking at your list and I'm like, you'd rather go to the friggin' Duke UNC than the Super Bowl? Are you out of your freaking mind?
I look at it this way. Like I said, I did mine a little different, as in I think anything that would include any Philadelphia team would be a given. So I didn't want to take up 4 spots on my list for that. I wanted to do stuff that was
I would go to the Giants versus the Jaguars in the Super Bowl.
No, I'm good.
You don't want to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's crazy.
No,
that's crazy.
I don't need to spend all that money and go watch and do all that crap.
That's not what the question is.
That's not the thing, though.
If I'm going,
all of these cost $1.
Right, listen, we all got on a list. It doesn't matter how much they cost. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I would not go to a non-Eagles Super Bowl over anything on my list except maybe number 10.
Okay, well,
Eagles Super Bowl
WrestleMania almost made my list.
But number 10 is WrestleMania. I know it's a little stupid. It's funny. It is what it is, but
not stupid.
It's a big deal. I'm pumped that we have it here next year. I know I'm going. I know Gene's going. I think we'll probably actually be in the same group of people. So it is the pinnacle. It is the Super Bowl of wrestling. It's a 2-day event. It's an enormous deal, man. And they put on a show. You have to give them credit. With between production, lighting, all the theatrics of it all. It's a really cool experience to have. So it made my list at number 10.
Well, I'll tell you right now, night 1 was better than night 2 this past year.
Agreed.
With WrestleMania. I just can't believe you don't have the damn Super Bowl on your list. All right, so number 10 for me, I'm not as big as a Goff fan as Cottrell and Shalley is. Obviously, you see the Masters tournament way up on their list. But I've kind of started to get into it a little bit. And even not being a Goff fan, Augusta National is something that I just want to experience one time in my life. A couple guys I worked with that are RDs in the Colorado market went to it this year with all the rain, and you see them with the ponchos and how much fun they had. You're not allowed to bring your phone. It's insanity. Lock things up. Like, it's insanity. I really would love to go to the Masters, but not as much as I would like to go to the 9 above it, because how much. And I want to preface a lot of these, right? Like, it says Cubs game. Like, I don't want to go to a Cubs game. I want to go to an afternoon Cubs game at Wrigley Field. I want to sit in the bleachers in left field or center field and go to an afternoon Cubs game at Wrigley. 1:35 start time. And I would love to. It's one of those things. If you're a baseball fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just a type of atmosphere, and take me out to the ball game. It's just, that is what it's all about. And I've always wanted to go to a day game in Chicago.
So before I get into my number 9, I will tell you, and Gene hit it on the head. If you're a baseball fan, there's 2 stadiums left that you have to go to. Gene has them both on his list, so I'm not going to take anything away and let him talk about them. I've been to both, and they are both everything they're cracked up to be. I got lucky to go to a game at Wrigley Field, Cubs versus Brewers. It was the last year that Jake Arrieta was actually there before he became a Philly, and he took a no-hitter into the 9th inning. And that was my first time there. It was a wild experience. But Wrigley Field is everything. If you're a baseball fan, it's everything you want it to be. Number 9 for me, the Monaco Grand Prix. If you're not familiar, this is the crazy race they have over in Europe, where they literally cordon off parts of the town and let these race cars go 200 miles through town. It sits right on the water. It's the who's who of everybody shows up for it. Everybody brings their boats and parks their yachts and then gets boated in and watches the race. I just think it's a great experience. I've really gotten into F1 the last couple of years. If I had to pick one race to go to right now, it would be Monaco. So it's number 9 for me.
My number 9 is a race that just happened this past weekend, the Kentucky Derby. But I do want to preface it, though. I don't just want to be in the bleachers. I got to be with everybody else that's cheering on their horses that they actually put some money into, or I want to be able to see the entire race. I don't want to just see, oh, these horses just ran past me for 2 seconds and then I can't see nothing else. So Kentucky Derby, I want to get all dressed up, put on the fresh fit and all of that, go down there, take some pictures. That goes on number 9 on my list. And then my number 8 is game that's kind of fresh. I think for me, this is more of a nostalgia kind of thing. Going to the Field of Dreams game, preferably again, the only time that I feel like I would actually go to this is if the Guardians are playing in it. But the setting of this game, how cool the first one was when the White Sox played in 2021 and all that. I love the scenery of it. Whenever I play MLB, if I gotta just go like random, like a random stadium, I'll go Field of Dreams or I'll go to the Twins, their old dome,
Metrodome
that they had, the Metrodome. But I love the nostalgia of it, and I would love to sit in the bleachers of a game like this.
That is the one out of both your lists that I'm pissed that I didn't think of.
Yeah, I agree 100%. As soon as I seen it, I was just like, wow. I would have thought I don't know where I would put it, but I definitely want to go to that game.
It would have made my list, though.
Control, you got me on that one. Congratulations.
Agreed. I'm a little annoyed I didn't put that on my list. Number 8 for me. I don't really have a dog in this race per se, but I think it would be great.
You do. Yes, you do.
I really don't.
You're a fraud. Shut up. Yes, you do.
I'm not.
You're going with the UNC jersey, Charlie?
I hate Duke, and I mean I like UNC. They're not my team, though.
Yeah, but you have a dog in that race. UNC would be who you're rooting for.
You go in and root. You go in there and you root for Duke. I don't think Katie's going to let you come to Thanksgiving.
But let me ask you a question. Wouldn't you rather watch that game at Cameron?
That's literally what I put on my list.
Yeah, it's at Cameron. He put at Cameron.
I would want to watch that game in Cameron with that atmosphere.
Just make it sure.
Yeah, that's for me. That's the experience, and that's the way to go. So, it's no matter how good the teams are, how bad they are, it's always great games. It gets all the fanfare. It's the best rivalry in college basketball. And Cameron Indoor is one of the top 5 holy grail venues to watch a college basketball game in. So this was kind of no surprise that it made my list.
Okay, so number 8 for me, and I want to preface this one. It's not just any Red Sox game. It's not. I would love to go to a Red Sox Yankees game, and I want to sit on this. This is what I want to do. If I ever go to a Red Sox game, I'm not going to a Red Sox game just to sit on the third baseline. I want to sit the first row on top of the Green Monster. I want to sit right there. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to sit. I want to watch Red Sox Yankees first row of the Green Monster. That's where I want to be at. That's. I got to preface it because it's really important, and that's the best rivalry in baseball. Let's not lie to ourselves. Number 7, and I don't know how this is number 7 for me. I wish I could put it higher. I want to go to a college football national championship game. Preferably not one that was as bad as this year's, but I want to see a Georgia versus Ohio State. I want to see a Bama versus Michigan. I don't care. Give me like big schools. A big game, 3-point spread, final drive. Give me a Tua down the sidelines. I don't care. But I want to see a college football championship game, and I really would love that. I can't believe it's only number 7, but the 6 above it are just so good.
7 for me. I have World Cup final. The World Cup, it's a special event. It only happens every 4 years. It's always held in, crazy places. So I would probably, most likely I would get to travel somewhere where I've never been before. And just to be the atmosphere and be around all those people is most likely not going to feature the U.S. in the final. So that wouldn't factor in too much for me. But I think to be able to just to say you went to a World Cup final, no matter where it is, no matter who was playing, I think that would be a special situation. So that's why I have it on my list.
Number 7 for me would be the game. Everybody knows what game I'm talking about. There's only one the game in all of sports, and that's Ohio State versus Michigan. I would love to see that a year where, Ohio State, if you give me like Ohio State's number 1 or Michigan's number 1, Ohio State's number 2, they've been the best team in the country. for the entire season, and they go out there and give you a 42-39 caliber game. That's what kind of game I'm looking for in the game. For that one, the funny thing about it is, of course, I think higher up on the list for me would be seeing that game in the shoe, but I'd also love to see that game at the big house as well, as long as it resulted in an Ohio State win. So the game coming in at number 7 for me. Number 6, again,
hold on. Can I comment on that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would much rather, if I was going to watch that game, I would much rather watch it at the Michigan Big House, even as Ohio State fan. I would much rather watch that game in Michigan, and I would want it to snow, because it's a nicer stadium.
Teach us on.
Oh.
You won't catch me saying anything nice about that team.
So sorry, I want to preface, if you're going to give me a game, I want to tell you where I want it.
I'll give you their players. I'm a Donovan Edwards fan, but talking about their stadium better than Ohio State's, no chance,
bro. All right. Horseshoe's a shithole, man.
Yeah. Hey, say what you want. Say what you want. Moving on. Number 6, NBA Finals game. Could be game 1, could be game 5. Don't care. Love to be in that atmosphere. Preferably closer down. Give me 2. Yeah, if I could pick it, I'm courtside. Cavs versus the Lakers. If this year, if LeBron is on the Lakers, Cavs, Lakers. Would love to see a game like that.
You would like that.
I'd be cool with it. Seeing LeBron on the opposite side, but I also get to cheer on my team. I'd be all for that.
I think you would be too conflicted. I disagree with that. I think Cavs
There'd
Grizzlies
be no
would be the game you want to go to.
Nah. See, let me see Bron on the other side.
Add a little hate in your heart. Come on, man. I'll help you.
I just got done with the game. That's not enough hate.
That's fair.
I mean, I already got 3 texts. How could the game not be on your list? I've been to 3 of them. That's why it's not on here. For the people that they're bothering through me instant messenger right now. I've been to both stadiums. One is way nicer than the other, and I'll leave it at that. And that's not even a biased opinion. One is just nicer than the other.
We know it's not biased because we know which one's better.
Yeah, Gene got it right. Number 6 for me is I would love to go to the Olympics. I think it's such a special event, and it's so different than pretty much anything else. I don't know if I could choose between summer and winter. When I grew up, I would say it was probably summer. Kind of gotten into winter more and more as I've gotten older, but there's certain staple events of the summer, like track and field and swimming and all that stuff that are just so fun to watch. But again, this kind of factors into the same thing as the World Cup final. I'm probably going to a country that I, likewise would not go to. I would get to travel somewhere new and see, some other country that I would never get to see. So I think being able to go to the Olympics is just, it's such a special, unique event that it would be a great experience.
You're out of your mind.
With which one?
The Summer Olympics is a million times better than the Winter Olympics. And let me tell you, I don't need to see luge, bro. All right, we'll get it. I'll get over it. I almost made a comment that I probably
just a lot of luge hate, and then he just moved on.
I don't want to say something I'll regret on the air, so I'll just stop. But it's just the Winter Olympics are just. I'll just stop.
You're not a cold weather person. I get it.
Yeah, we'll call it that. That's what we'll say.
I just
don't want to see anybody bobsledding.
The random luge hate just out of nowhere, and then just
he did just sprinkle that in,
and then just moved on like he didn't say it.
Well, because I almost said something that was Daniel Tosh said on a stand-up comedy scene.
Don't do that.
So my number 6, and I want to put an S at the end of this. The final 4 games are played on the same day on the same court. I want to sit there for 7.5, 8 hours and watch the final 4 games, like the 2 semifinal games out of final 4. I want to sit courtside or whatever. They're normally in football stadiums, so I want to sit on the bottom, like as close as I can. And I would love to watch both basketball games. I can sit and watch. I watch LA Fitness basketball. You think I can't watch 2? I would love to watch Final Four basketball, and that would be. I have that over to college football national championship. I would love to see the Final Four. Number 5 for me, and I'm a man of dramatics. I'm a man of very like Cottrell's like, I don't care any finals game. No. I want to see a game 7. I want to see Heat Spurs game 7. I want to see a game 7. I want to see Warriors Cavaliers. I don't care. Give me that game 7. A game 7 where it's going back and forth down the stretch. I don't care who it is. I hope preferably the 76ers, but you could put any 2 teams on the court, and I want to watch a game 7 in the NBA Finals.
Number 5 for me, I'm going Manchester United game. I know we talk about soccer sparingly on here because Gene does not applaud the grass ping pong, but I started playing soccer at a young age, and I believe it or not, I got into U.S. soccer wasn't a big thing back then. Premier League was the first league I started watching, and I became a Manchester United fan, and I have been ever since. It's been on my bucket list for a long time to go to England and go to Old Trafford and watch a game. That would be a special day for me. But that was definitely going to make my list a little higher, and then I ended up a little higher than I thought it was going to when I first started doing this. But I absolutely, as much as I follow the Premier League and as much soccer as I watch, I have to get over there at some point and watch a game. So
I'm not talking about the Spurs Heat this year, bro. I'm talking about that NBA Finals with LeBron and Tim Duncan.
He's probably still got numbing stuff in it, and it's going through his body. Don't mind him right now.
Okay.
He had a little minor operation today, so I hope you're feeling better, buddy. But he's probably a little high still.
Jesus.
All right, so my number 5, I'm going to Augusta National. I'm going with the Masters tournament. It's obviously it's on all of our list here. It's just one of those events where I'd want to be there for the entire weekend. It's so hard to get into that event. I think if anything, it's just one of those things like I have to have it on this list to check it off to say I did it. Just being a sports fan. I'm not crazy big into golf. Like, of course, Audie has got me more into it, and every year I watch the Masters, but just the course, the dramatics, everything about it, the crowning of the green jacket, I'd want to be there for it all. So I got the Masters tournament coming in at my number 5. My number 4 is the college football championship game. I don't care where it's at. I don't care what stadium it's in. Definitely want to go to it. Ohio State would have to be the team for me to go. Don't care who they're playing, as long as it results in a win. Of course, I would love the dramatics. It's late, and whoever's the quarterback throws a last-second touchdown, like we saw. Gene gave the example of Tua to Devonta Smith against Georgia. I would love to see a game like that live, but college football championship in that environment, seeing my team in it and win it, 100% top 4 for me.
Okay, so the one I really missed, and I wish I would have resaid that. The Tua Devontae Smith was good, but I don't like Bama ever winning. I should have said the Trevor Lawrence National Championship versus Bama. His redshirt freshman year. Control forgot about that game.
True
freshman.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the year that they lost. That's why I made that face. They lost to LSU.
I'm going to comment on Birds Deep real quick. I've literally started watching Manchester United when I was 8 years old. So we're talking 1988, way before they won the treble and they became, this commercialized team and all that crap. I liked Man U way before that. So it's not a poser team to watch. Number 4 for me, I'm staying across the pond in the same country. Men's final, Wimbledon. Championship Sunday, grass court, center court, holy grail of tennis. Of tennis courts. Maybe go over, say hi to Kate, shoot your shot, see what happens. But they're always in attendance. But it's just a special place. To watch tennis on grass in general, it's different. It's unique. And that is the place that has all the tradition. I love the U.S. Open. I've literally talked about it 9 or 10 times on the show. But be able to go see the Wimbledon final live in person would be just a crazy once in a lifetime type thing. You're an Arsenal fan. That explains everything. Sorry for all your pain and suffering. You guys choked away the championship again this year. Congratulations.
Jesus. That got deep. But
They didn't call me a poser. I was probably
Man U is a Yankees Cowboys team.
How old's Birds Deep?
People don't even
people
don't even watch soccer.
How old's Birds Deep?
I don't know. 2 years. How old's Godfrey?
Yeah.
That's Matt Godfrey.
I know.
35.
All right. So yeah, I was watching Man U pretty much the year after he was born.
All right. So my number 4 is a World Series Game 7. I honestly, I really believe that What happened?
He said Birds Deep is his burner account.
It's World Series Game 7 for me. I think that that would be incredible to be able to watch a game that hangs on every run, every inch, every pitch. I don't know. I guess you guys have been to World Series games, and Shally has, and
I have.
I haven't. It's on my list. It's at 10.
It's got to be a Game 7 though. It's got to be a deciding game. I don't want to watch a 7-3 Game 2. I want to watch a game where you have all the stops are laid out. You got starting pitchers coming back on 2 days rest to throw an inning in the bullpen. Game 7. Nothing like Game 7. So I'll go Game 7 for number 4, World Series. For my number 3, you guys both have it on your list. I need to see a game at the Rose Bowl. I have to. It's just an absolute incredible layout. The sun drawn down and the 5:15 start. I can't wait. I would love to. Preferably Penn State playing, but I would love to see a game at the Rose Bowl.
Number 3 for me, I'm going to go with the Ryder Cup. This event has gotten significantly bigger over the years, and it's to the point now where it's really become, a standalone crazy event. I mean, it's the players. This generation of players has got into it more than previously, and the fans from both sides have gotten more wild. They get louder, and the players encourage it. It's just a very raucous type atmosphere. It is the most fun you're probably ever going to have watching golf. I would love to go have it be in the U.S. I'd prefer to go in the U.S., but even if it was over, in Europe and going rooting for the away team at that point, I think it would be an absolute, crazy fun time. So I have the Ryder Cup number 3.
Love it.
My number 3 is a game that Bill already mentioned. That'd be the World Cup final. I think, every soccer fan or just World Cup fan in general was spoiled by this past year's World Cup final. And I would love to be at a game like that. I mean, that would have been that's a classic. That's 100% a class to be at, Argentina versus France. So you give me a game like that. I get to travel. Like Bill said, this is a game where I'd probably be going somewhere that I've never been before, and I probably wouldn't have much interest in going back. This past year, it was in Qatar, and probably wouldn't have even wanted to go over there. But if I got to see the World Cup final, hey, I would have been cool with it. So give me the World Cup final as my number 3. Moving on to my number 2, I got the granddaddy of them all. That's the Rose Bowl. Of course, the tradition is Big Ten going up against the Pac-12 school. Of course, I'd like to see Ohio State play, but this is a game where I really don't care who's playing, and I'd be all for it. Sign me up. Gene talked about the beautiful sights, the 5:00 kick and all of that. It's just one of those stadiums that I feel like you have to be in, and it's probably also one of those stadiums where there's legitimately not a bad seat in the stadium.
Number 2, I have the Rose Bowl as well. And I would go to watch Michigan play. I've been lucky enough to see, Michigan play over 10 times in the Big House. I went to the Horseshoe as well, and I got to watch a Michigan-Ohio State game there. I've been lucky. The one place I haven't been able to see them play is in the Rose Bowl. And that would be, it's number 2 on my list for a reason. You guys have both mentioned all the highlights of it. Just the tradition, the pageantry, the how perfect that stadium is. 5 o'clock kick, sun going down the San Gabriel Mountains, just all of it all together. And be able to watch my team play on that field would be, that's one of those things where you could say you leave and, not that you would really mean it, but you could say you could die happy after it was over. And that would be one of those things for me. So Rose Bowl's number 2 for me.
I have this really high up on my list. And this is, once again, this is not just a Packers game. This is a December Packers game. This is Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, snowing. I would prefer it snowing. Give me a snow game in Lambeau. The whole town, it shuts down. It's like a college football setup. The stadium's a mile away from everything. There's like a 1 mile square radius around the stadium where you just drive through a neighborhood and then the whole opens up and there's this huge parking lots to Lambeau Field.
Lambeau Field.
I want to watch a Packers game here. Hopefully Packers Eagles. Monday Night Football, snow, 13 degrees, December. Give me that. I would love it. I would be frigidly dressed, wearing layers on layers of clothes and loving life if I was at a Packers game. But my number 1, this is the biggest game of the year in any sport. It's the most televised game of the year, the Super Bowl. I've never been there. They give like gift baskets like to every seat. There's a ton of things that come with the ticket. Everyone's there, the who's who of anyone. Give me a suite at the 50-yard line. Let me sit in a luxury box in the 50-yard line and just watch the game with the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, if you're gonna give me my bucket list, let me get that. I hope that one day I can be able to afford that, but I would love to go see the Super Bowl, and it's number 1 on my list because it's the best game on earth, and it's a game I've never had the opportunity to check out.
Number 1 for me, I'm going with Masters. Obviously the golf connection. It's a little bit more of a personal thing for me as well. It was something that growing up when I first got into golf, it was kind of the first tournament that I really became cognizant of it being like a big deal, because my dad loved it so much. It was something we always talked about going to together. And as far as golf courses go, it's the best golf course on the planet. Some people will argue, a few others, but to me, it's perfect. It's literally perfection personified. There's nothing prettier. It's challenging just to be there and have, be able to witness all the tradition. Like Gene said earlier, not to take your phones in. All the food is like $2. It has very old throwback, like older generations feel to it, but then still embraces like the newer stuff. And on top of that, you're gonna watch a bunch of great golf. It's number 1 for me. It was easy. It was the first thing that came to mind when we said we were going to do this, and it's top of my list for that reason.
My number 1 is the same number 1 that Gene had. I think it's for sure biggest event here, biggest game. Seeing the Cleveland Browns in the Super Bowl, being at their first ever appearance, their first ever Super Bowl, seeing the brown and orange confetti fall out of the rafters, that's where I need to be. And I'm 100% on board with Gene. A lot of people want to be close down to the field and all that. No, thank you. I want to be in the suite, 50-yard line, and having the bird's eye view of the entire field. I got chicken wings to my side. I got a drink to my right side, and it's paradise. I think that is 100% number 1 on my bucket list. And to be honest, it really wasn't that close. Like I had to figure out my 2 through 10, but number 1, Brown Super Bowl for sure.
So I want to make a comment. And I think that one of the things that you can take the graphic down, it's not to do with the graphic, but I think one of the things that really stands out when I talk about going to sporting events, you got to go with the right people. the right crowd, the right setup. I'm one of those guys that I can't go to a baseball game with the wrong people because I barely get up. If I get up and get something to eat in the fifth inning, like I try to rush to get some food and get right back. I don't stand in line. I really enjoy the game. And like if I'm sitting around the wrong people that don't have any idea what's going on, like going to a Super Bowl with somebody that doesn't watch football would drive me nuts.
Mm.
I really, really analyzed the game. And I think that when we got into podcast, I've always done this, but when we got into podcasting, I really broke it down on a different level. Like getting the all 22, I can't tell you how many football games I watched on NFL Plus with that all 22. I break down the games. I watch film. I absolutely enjoy the aspects of the game. The only reason the Kentucky Derby wasn't on my list is because it happens in 2 minutes and then it's over. I don't want to. I really enjoy, like, give me the longest event. The Final Four day almost made it higher because I get to watch 2 basketball games. Like, I love watching the sport. I'm one of the guys that will stay up. Like I couldn't go to sleep. Warriors, Lakers the other night, game 4. I just couldn't go to sleep. I had to be up for a meeting in the morning. Didn't matter. It's up to 1 a.m. watching that game. I just can't miss the games. I DVR parts of games to watch them. They're in my team. Being able to watch a game with the right people is almost as good as the right place.
It's a vital part of it. I mean, and it's Gene, like there's a lot, like going to a baseball game with Gene, like we're exactly the same. Like I don't want to miss a pitch if I can control it. Like me and Cottrell going to a Michigan Ohio State football game would be an absolute riot. It would be so much fun.
I pissed my pants before I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it's what I got to be. Like I mean the one thing for like WrestleMania, like I said, and like Brandon said, like Brandon's going as well. Like we're all going to the same group. Like that whole weekend is going to be fun. It's part of it, man. It factors into, it's a part of the experience. You're not only going to watch the game, who you're going with, and kind of like Gene said, knowledge is kind of part of it too. I wouldn't want to go to a Super Bowl either and sit next to 2 people that won the tickets off a radio station that don't know anything about the game. That would piss me off. Like I wouldn't want to sit next to corporate people. That would suck.
I'll tell you something, and I remember this like it was yesterday. 2009, I'm at Dave & Buster's with a group of my friends that watched every Phillies game during the 2008 run. We watched it at Dave & Buster's. It was the same group. I used to work at the Franklin Mills Mall, which is now Philadelphia Mills. And after work, we would go watch the Phillies game at Dave & Buster's from the wild card round where nobody was there to like the divisional round or the NLCS to the World Series. And every week it started getting more and more people there. We used to get our same booth every single time. And come World Series, we didn't get our booth. We had to sit at the bar because the whole place was packed. I'm sitting down on a bar stool watching the game with my 3 friends, and there's a couple sitting next to me. Now, I don't buy sports merchandise like NLCS champions. Like, I don't buy that. I hate that, actually. World Series champions are nothing. Super Bowl champions are nothing. I'm not buying the NFC East champ shirt. I think people that do that are fake fans to begin with. But I'm sitting next to a couple. They're decked out in more Philadelphia Phillies gear than I could ever afford. I could probably afford it, but I would never buy it. Jersey, hat, like I think I had an armband on for all I knew. Looked like they had baseball pants on. Sitting next to me, and I'm talking sports with my friends who watched every game with me. I could just assume these people are Phillies fans and they know the game. Ryan Howard is batting, and he's wearing the patch, the Harry Kalas patch. That is, the HK patch. It was the year Harry Kalas died in 2009. And the guy next to me goes, "You look like a pretty big baseball fan." I'm like, yeah, we are. He's like, the HK, that stands for Home Run King, right? That's why Howard wears it. And I said, and I tried giving him the benefit of the doubt and just reminding him, no, it's Harry Kalas, man. And he looks at me with the most puzzled face in the world. And he goes, the announcer guy? I'm like, man, that's what I mean, but I can't sit at these events with people like that. I can't watch football like this guy sucks or this player's terrible and you just don't know what's going on. You don't know why they look bad. I mean, guys could be playing bad. I get it. But like not understanding why a cornerback gets burnt. You know, Darius Slay got burnt. Now he's playing cover 2. That's actually the safety's job to get over on top of it. Like, I can't. Darius Slay stinks. He got burnt. No, they're playing cover 2. Like, you need to know what they're playing. It just drives me nuts. I can't do that, and it bothers me. And if you're not a knowledgeable person of sports, that's okay. You can go places, but go there with the idea of understanding. Not the idea of like trying to be a know-it-all when you don't watch it. Because I do this for science. The reason I watch the Eagles games all at my house, I don't go out and watch them at bars because I can't stand it. I sit and watch them in front of my TV with my pizza, my beer, my house. That's what I want to do. That's normally why. That's why it's the crowd that you go with is super important. Let's get into. You got to be kidding me, fam. Oh, my bad. God, let's talk about the horse. I'm going to take a break. I'll be back. You guys talk about some horse.
I mean, Derby weekend. I think Derby weekend in general was a little bit underwhelming this year. And it's kind of hard.
It's underwhelming because a bunch of horses died and we're getting hurt because, well, no, there's 5 horses that died in transportation.
No. I know that, but I'm just saying, like, you had your favorite he just got scratched.
Forte got scratched. There were 7 total horses that died during the weekend between transportation and training accidents. Just overshadowed a lot. They banned another trainer for further investigation, and then
2 of his horses were the ones that died. Yeah.
And then you had you still had 2 other favorites in the race and a couple other horses that a lot of people like to win, and then a horse that nobody talked about once. So it was just a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot to unpack for a Kentucky Derby, but
I had 3/4 of my superfecta. I just didn't have the winner anywhere near it.
Nor did I. I hit 2 or 3, and that was it. I was not even close.
I had 3/4 in order. 2, 3, and 4. I had all correct.
Yeah.
What do you win on like a $2 superfecta?
Depends on the year.
Well, like this year, like what was it? What did a $1 superfecta pay at?
I didn't see it.
I actually didn't look up, but I'll tell you this: I know the try paid 9, so on a $2 ticket it was 18. So superfecta was probably at least 3 or 4 grand, somewhere around there. But there's been years where
well, shit, last year 320 something for Rich Strike.
Yeah, if you get horses like that win or 2, or you get a 50-1 to finish in 3rd or 4th and drive up the odds, you win a couple $100,000 on a superfecta.
The lowest I've seen before was like 8 or 9K.
On a $1 trifecta, it was $982.
Yeah.
On a $1 superfecta, it was $15,643.
Right, so it was $30,000 then on $2 bet.
So who was one of the favorites that didn't make the top 4? I forgot who it was. Like that's who I had winning it. I had 2 filled second. I had Angel of Empire 3rd, and I had Disarm 4th. But I had forget the horse's name.
The horse I picked. I don't know why it's not coming to my mind right now.
But I had him winning it. And whatever.
Horse that had lost. I can't remember his name right now.
If he wins the race and Mage just drops out, I win $30,000. It would have been beautiful. That's what it is. I didn't expect to win. I just seen 2, 3, and 4. I'm like, wow, that was really close. Exact order too. I figure I should get something. It should give me like $10.
So here's your $1 back.
All right, so let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me, because there's a lot of really good ones this week.
All right, so I will kick us off. My You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week is the entire situation surrounding Matt Araiza. So, for those of you who don't know, Matt Araiza was a punter coming out of San Diego State, and coming out, I mean, he was one of those guys. Like, pretty much, if you follow college football, you knew his name just because he was dropping 70-yard punts, and he'd have just these crazy videos of him punting from the opposite end, his foot on the opposite end zone, and he'd kick it and it'd be a touchback. Crazy leg. He got drafted in the 5th round by the Buffalo Bills, and he was fully expected to be their starting punter that season. Before he even stepped foot on the Buffalo Bills facilities grounds, there was a report that came out that he had raped a woman while he was at school at San Diego State with a few of his teammates. Recent news came out that showed that Matt Araiza wasn't even present at the house that the woman alleged that he raped her at. The evidence also showed that the accuser was having consensual sex with other men that night, and that Araiza had been falsely accused of gang rape, and that's ultimately what caused him to lose his job. Situation where kid's life is ultimately ruined. One, he's a punter, so it's not like he had just guaranteed money to sit back on based on just signing his name on the contract. I'm sure he got some money right away, but for all intents and purposes, his life got ruined in that moment. I mean, I am glad that he is still young, that he's only 2 years removed off of that, so hopefully he can find a job this upcoming off season. But that whole situation, I hate that happened. There was a similar situation that happened to 2 kids at Ohio State that ultimately just got acquitted. And it's serious, as we have to take these allegations and these things. It sucks on the flip side of it when these players ultimately did no wrong and they have to pay the consequences for it, and they don't even have a chance to let justice see it through. So for that this week, everything surrounding Matt Araiza and the false accusation.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
So, question. I think the answer is no. But is there any credence he has to be able to sue the NFL for cutting him and it's proven to be false?
No.
I want him to be able to make money off this. I'm sure the girl doesn't have money he can sue for.
I think it's in their CBA. If it's anything regarding this, then the league basically saying like our hands are tied, and if we let you go, it's justifiable.
Yep.
Yeah, but why not be able to? And just question: why not be able to put him on the exempt list until the trial or until the facts are like? I don't like the guilty until proven innocent thing.
I think part of it too, with him being a 5th round punter.
Control's having a little bit of issues with connection right now, but with him being a 5th round punter, I get it. I understand that. You're back, Control. You want to finish that point?
I was just going to say, him being a 5th round punter, I don't think, they didn't lose too much by cutting him. It's not like they owed him, $20 million payout or anything like that. So I think that's really ultimately why he was let go so easy, where they didn't even think about it. Okay. Now, had he been Stephon Diggs, I bet you're in a situation where he gets put on the exempt list, doesn't play for a year and a half till everything gets figured out. Similar.
Just sad that the kid got cut from a football team for that. Like, I think that when something like that happens, it's just sad. It's sad that he has no recourse and nothing he can do about it. But
obviously, there's things he can do legally, but he's never going to see anything from it that's going to make him whole. I think he's going to get a job now. But yeah, you have to walk around with that for the rest of your life. There has to be legally, there should have to be some kind of repercussions for her.
She should go to jail.
So it's, it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens more than it should.
Yeah.
But
I'm very strong on this because we talked about this last week, how much I am against any issues against touching women, hitting women. But I'm also very strong on the other side. If it's proven that you lied and you try to extort or you try to ruin someone's life intentionally, I think you should go to jail. It makes a mockery out of every single person that gets raped. And I'm not going to get too far into this because we have two more really, really good. You got to be kidding me. Shally, on to you.
Yeah, so originally I was going to start with just one person, but I'm going to add to it now because I think
thank you.
The University of West Virginia deserves to be added into this now after what they decided to do today. If you're not familiar, Bob Huggins, the head coach of West Virginia, very good coach, very, very, very good college basketball coach. Will probably go in the Hall of Fame one day. Used to coach at Cincinnati. Not a choir boy by any means, though. He got fired from Cincinnati for not doing the right things. Landed in West Virginia, built that program back up. But he was on a podcast with a local guy from Ohio, I believe, and they were talking about the old Cincinnati Xavier rivalry and how crazy it used to get during games and so forth and so on. He said a couple off-color things about transgender people, and just kind of got into that like guy's mode and couldn't help himself. And he used a derogatory term about gay people twice. I would say this, and I said it when it happened. I think he should have been fired. I don't think it should have been even really that debatable. The second part of my, you got to be kidding me now, though, is West Virginia. They're gutless. They're showing their backwood mountain, no teeth having kind of morals that they're known for. I don't think anybody in West Virginia cares that he said what he said about gay people, because honestly, I think they think it's okay. They came out and said that they're going to send him to sensitivity training. They're going to dock him $1 million off his pay next year, and that's really going to be it. So he got away with pretty much a slap on the wrist. I think the whole thing is gutless. I think West Virginia didn't have anybody to come at them and say, this is what you guys have to do the right thing. Because I think half the people, more than half the people that are involved in that university probably think it's okay to use that word. And if you're not, familiar with it, look it up. He used the F word. I'm not going to repeat it on this podcast.
Yeah.
This is just another situation where, as we continue to move forward as a society, we want things to get better and change and people to be treated the way they should be treated, and not, discriminated against. These things need to be handled differently. He need to be fired. It's that simple. It's that cut and dry. If you continue to let people in power or celebrities or whoever get away with this stuff, don't expect everybody else to change. It sucks. I mean, it's again, I think it's a product of where he is and what those people believe and that's a goddamn shame if you're asking me. So this week for me, Bob Huggins and West Virginia for being gutless.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Well said, Bill. Mine is another one where I feel like that this guy just can't get out of the news. Like just over and over and over again with different things. And look, I'm all for you having a relationship with anybody and getting an NDA or prenuptial agreement and things of that nature. But I want to read you some things that happened with Tiger Woods recently. So Tiger Woods was dating Erica Herman. Erica Herman was the manager of Woods' Palm Beach County restaurant before and during the years of the beginning of their romantic relationship. So she had a job managing his restaurant. He started dating an employee of his restaurant. She then in turn moved in with him, left the restaurant to move in with him, signed an NDA, and had a lot of different situations going on with Tiger Woods. The relationship didn't work. We're not going to argue whose fault it was or what the situation is. Erica recently claimed that she doesn't want to be heartbroken and homeless. Tiger Woods told her through text messages and conversations that he was going to take her on a weekend getaway and to meet him at the airport. And she meets him at the airport, goes to meet him at the airport, and Tiger Woods has a lawyer waiting there to break up with her while they're evicting her from his $54 million mansion that he lives in. So you lied to the girl to get her to the airport to break up with her through a lawyer while you're moving all her stuff out of your house. I understand breakups happen. I understand they can be bad and there's issues that happen, but this is not the way to handle it. This is also one of your employees, somebody that worked for your company, no longer has a job, and she feels like she's entitled to some money. And I tend to agree with her. Look, I'm never normally on the side of someone that's trying to get money out of a relationship from somebody else, but this was an employee of Woods' restaurant. And I just can't in a million years fathom why a guy that's that rich can't at least take care of this girl and put her in a situation like, here's a house, here's some money, and then break up with her like a man, face to face, not with a lawyer. You don't have a lawyer present to make sure that something doesn't go wrong because you're Tiger Woods. That's fine. But to lie to a girl, get her to go to the airport and have a lawyer meet her there to break up with her, it's pathetic, if I'm going to say the least. Tiger just seems to have an issue with controlling himself with women. This is not the first time this has happened. He, we all know about him checking himself into a rehab for a sex addict. Like, come on, dude. Like, it's just a little much at this point. And Tiger Woods, you've earned this one this week. So.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
That's going to get a lot messier before it gets better, I think. I think once the judge rules what she can and can't talk about, I think there's going to be some bombshell stuff come out of that situation that is not going to paint a pretty picture of Tiger.
And I agree, but it's just like, man, like, I feel like he could easily handle this and it's not go into this.
We could have never heard about it.
Correct.
He could have just said, hey, this isn't working out. I know you signed this NDA. Here's 25 grand, 50 grand, whatever. You know, if he's giving her that lump sum of money, I don't think she would probably try to extort him, especially with the NDA. And you just go about it that way. I don't see how.
Well, did you hear like all the particulars? Like, he drove her to the airport. Literally, they parked there like where like the private planes are. He literally got out of one car. His lawyer was waiting there. Said, go talk to him. Got in another car and just drove away. And then when the lawyer was there, the lawyer tried to get her to sign another NDA about that whole situation. And she's like, I'm not signing it. Like, he doesn't, Godfrey mentioned his father. I mean, he doesn't have a good track record with women. Like Gene said, that the sex addiction thing was a cop-out. That was a publicity stunt. Yeah. He got caught cheating with 9 different women. I mean, there's nothing more than that.
I just feel like that, like someone, and listen, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's, and look, I'm not perfect, right? I'm not one to throw stones. I'm not perfect. But like, there's just got to be better people in this world, man. Like, that's just a bad human being thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tiger's gotten the benefit of the doubt for a long time about a lot of things because of who he was as a golfer. And when you break it down and look at, certain things up until the last couple of years, he's kind of been a shitbag of a human being.
Yeah.
And I think now it's even worse because you think, I mean, obviously we see Charlie growing up, like being such a great golfer, and that's just going to kind of take away from him. And then, if let's just say he's this great golfer and he gets it big, it's going to be like, all right, well, we saw this track record Tiger. When's the domino effect gonna happen with Charlie? So it's just not setting a great example for him. And now you're in the headlines for all the wrong reasons yet again.
Yeah, I mean, you hope it's not history repeating itself again. I mean, Tiger was a child prodigy that watched his dad cheat on his mom constantly, and Tiger grew up to be that same person. So you hope you hope Charlie stays clear of it because Charlie looks like he's going to have, that same bright future that Tiger had. So
yeah, guys, fun show, man. Fun show. Never in a million years did I think that these topics would take us to 9:15. We had a lighter show than normal, and I just couldn't stop talking about the things we were talking about. Great conversations as a whole. I'm blessed to do this show with you two gentlemen every week. It's a lot of fun, and appreciate everything that you guys bring to it each week. The knowledge to be able to talk sports with you guys each week and be able to do it on this platform. It's great. So I just wanted to say that before we wrap up the show. Any final thoughts, Cottrell?
I got nothing this week.
Shally?
No, got nothing. We got next week will be kind of a little bit of a different fun show of more NBA and got the PGA Championship, and then we got another horse race too. So this is like my prime time part of the year. I get like in my obscure sports. They get a lot of air time.
It's been a lot of fun though. So
it has.
Good show this week, and appreciate everybody tuning in on Facebook, YouTube. Please give us a download on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Gene Walzak. That's Cottrell Simpson, Bill Shawcross, and this is Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 135. We are signing out.